Good Erev Shabbos and Good Chodesh, everybody. We are in our regular Friday shir on the Maharal, my holy ancestor, the Maharal Miprak. Schusi Galenu, Kol Yisrael Ameinu. We're going to learn the Aryeh. I've never learned this before again, as far as I can remember, this Aryeh. So we're learning it just cold turkey. Of course, we know the Aryeh is a super commentary on Rashi. You know what? Just to show our respect, even though it's very uncomfortable right now, we'll wear a hat to show respect for my holy ancestor. So, Isha ki Tazria, when a woman, this is Leviticus chapter 12, verse 2, when a woman bears seed, Amar Rabbi Simlai. So let's see, what does Rashi say? Very famous Rashi. The Rabbi Simlai says that just like in creation, the human being came after the animals. So too the laws of human beings and the purity and impurity of human beings comes after the laws of the purity and impurity of the animal kingdom. So says my holy ancestor, the Heilige Zayid Maharal Miprak, V'yikar Rabba, in Dalad Amud Aleph, that this is a quote, this Rashi is quoting the Medrash V'yikar Rabba, Medrash Rabba, the Dim Leikei, Lama Maktim Parshas Behem Chayva Oiv, Parshas Tazria Odom. And he says it makes a lot of sense, because if that wasn't the case, what other reason could there be that the animals come before the humans? Ella Kashem. So that must be the answer. Just like the animals came first in Genesis, so they have to come first in Leviticus. Pavel Gab, the Gabe Bria, Mefarish Begamar, Perak Echad, Dine Mamonis. Despite that when it comes to the creation, you can explain in the Talmud, in Sanhedrin, where it talks, the name of the chapter there is Echad Dine Mamonis. So it's talking about the laws of judges and the difference between judges for monetary cases and for capital cases. She'im Yiskoya Adam, that if a person becomes arrogant, Oimrim Loi Afilu Yatush Kadmecha. Yitush Kadmecha. If a person becomes arrogant, we should tell him, wait a second, a gnat, a mosquito, was created before you, don't be arrogant. That's the reason why the human being was created last in creation, in Genesis. And there's other reasons there, the other way. If a person is depressed, he says, no, the whole world was made for me, right? But as far as the order is concerned, could be either way, right? But Yitush Kadmucha, that only is that is in reference to the order of the creation. King Kasha. So this still seems to be difficult. It poses a question. All right. So if we're saying the reason why, why did God create all the animals before the humans? It's to humble the human being, to say all these other things came first. So what does that have to do with here, in Leviticus? Does the fact that the animals, the list of the kosher and non-kosher animals are listed in Leviticus, and the animals that have impurities and so forth, when they're dead, that have extra impurities, in addition to just not being kosher, but they have extra impurities. all of those, does that humble a human being that those laws are stated in Leviticus before the laws of the human beings? In Kain B'Terasin, Lama Nak Maktim Behem Chayv Oifel Teres Adam. What purpose is there in saying that, in teaching the laws of the animal kingdom before the human laws? Then it's kind of far-fetched to say, well, because they were created first, so the laws come first. The lashon kashem lemashma hachi, when it says just like, there has to be a reason. Meaning shame means a name, it means a reason. Meaning there's a purpose in this. It's not just, all right, these two things are similar. There has to be a reason for it. This is a very deep idea that the Maharal brings out in Metzora and Chassidus, really. Predating those movements, but it's really the same ideas. The Havalei Leimer Kaven, the Hiktim Yitziris Behem Chayva Oiv. It should have said because. It shouldn't say just like. This is how he's medakdek in Rashi and in the Medrash. It should have said because and not just like. So it says the Heilige Zayda Maharal in Prague that some could say like this: the Gam Terasan Eich Yom Misnagim Hudavar Doima Labriya. That the Torah's teaching of how a person should conduct himself and how we conduct ourselves vis-a-vis the animal world is something that is similar. It has a similarity to the works of creation in Genesis, and so there's a similarity between Genesis and Leviticus. Because when something is created, when God creates something, that's how He fixed it. That's how He rectified. He made them perfect. But the rectification of their existence is through, in the mystical sense, is through their laws in the Torah. Therefore, kashem shemakdim b'vriya chayav oifus hachinami b'terasim. So that's why, since the animals and the birds were made before the human, which is an Indian of rectification of tikkun, chinami b'terasim. So too, in the Torah laws and teachings about them, because that's the Indian of their tikkun. That's the concept of their rectification, physically and spiritually, meaning the creation is the physical rectification, and the religious laws are the spiritual rectification. The Torah, the laws here, are the completion of their rectification. That's why in Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, as we're going to say tonight in Kiddush and Mirza Hashem, the Gemara explains the first day of creation says Yom Echad, says one day, not the first day, and not a first day, just says one day, or day one, Yom Echad. After it says Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, a second day, a third day, a fourth day, without the word the, without the hey for the. But the sixth day, Friday, it says Yom HaShishi, the sixth day. That creation was really completed on the sixth day of Sivan when the Torah was given, on Shavuos, on the holiday of Pentecost. If the Jews accept the Torah, then it's good. And if not, they'll return to nothingness and void, as it was before creation. So that's what we learn, that the creation was completed only when the Torah was given. That fixes the world. That's what it means, tikkun olam. But who ikar tikkuno? That's the main idea of the tikkun olam, the rectification and fixing the world. If not, they'll return to nothingness and void. She'en kan tikkun. Then there's no tikkun. Then there's no fixing. So therefore, the Torah is the creation. Let's see if we can pause this and continue later. Alright, it looks like they updated this app because I'm able to pause even though the thing went off. We're able to, Baruch Hashem, continue, but I'm going to wait till this thing stops clicking. While it's clicking, I'm going to, there it goes. So that was a good place to stop because it was synapse there, right? Two dots. So the Toimar, we say, so here's a good kasha. If we're talking about the order of creation, didn't the male come before the female? Why are we saying Isha ki Tazria before the older Zohar? Why is the Isha mentioned before the Zohar? Why is the woman mentioned before the male? Good question. So the Mayri Gamkin Bezocher, right? Because that's, or at least even if we want to say that that Adam was androgynous and only after Chava was created did you have the creation of male and female. So still, the saras applies equally to men and women, the leprosy. But this idea of a woman giving birth, that only women give birth. Sorry to say, not sorry. A woman was created last. So she's the pinnacle of creation. So you can say like this to Adarabba. It's just the opposite. No, the woman was created first. Why? Even though whatever we want to translate tzela as a rib, as a tail, as a side, whatever that is, from the Adam, one of those was taken. That was after the human was created, right? That shows that Eve was created first. The Haksiv Zochen Akeva Bara'am Vikra Eshmam Adam, because Genesis 5:2 says God made them male and female, and He called their name Adam. Ki nimsa ki koydem l'kein miyad nivreis hanekeva diopertzufin, because one way the Medrash teaches is that the word sela means sides, and that actually it was kind of like a conjoined twin, but which never happens. The male and female conjoined twin, but you had the two faces. It's not that the Chava, that Eve was a rib or a tail, but rather she was the equal, right? Yitziras hanekeva tchila, and it would seem that the female was created first. She came nois and seder abriya, because so then that's giving the order of creation. Habehema v'achar kacha isha v'achar kacha zocher. That first the animals were created, then the female humans were created, and then the male humans. And the truth is, in the Yitziras Havlad, and Chazal already knew this, but the way that an embryo is formed is that every embryo is initially female, and if it's going to be male, then it forms to a male. That's the scientific aspect, and so that we don't need to get into all the biology of that. Kevin sha ataroya shitzira hayla oilam asher yosef b'madrega b'achroina, because if the male is, the Maharal says a few times throughout his svarim that a male is in a certain way on a higher level than the female, or the other svarim say the opposite, the female is on a higher level. But we're going to go to the Maharal l'shitasa, even though we know he really loved his wife Peril. There's and he had a lot of respect for women, and his anical bochrach, my great 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 grandmother. I didn't count how many greats there were, but meaning the Chavas Yor's grandmother, Eva Bacharach, was a Torah scholar, right? So it's not that the Maharal was a misogynist, but he says like this: that the male is on a higher level. Again, not everyone agrees with him. Whatever's on the higher level comes later. Gam ken kan haya ba'achroina zocher. So he's saying it must mean that the male was the last creation. That initially the human was, and also that answers this because that you have the female. You could have female conjoined twins. You can't have a male and a female because they have to be identical twins. They can't be fraternal twins. Anyway, but that's not really a kasha because that's still that's a little bit because this was creation. This isn't what goes on now. But anyway, shu yoyse chashuv, that according to the Maharal, the male is more distinguished from the female, whatever that means. So we have each and nothing chashuvos. So there's such a concept that Rav Yah talks of isha chashuva. So anyway, mizeh tamam razal. For this reason, our sages say, a woman matures more quickly than a man. The bas yud beis, v'yamechad v'ben yud gimel v'yamechad, right? Because according to halacha, the bas mitzvah is the 12-year-old, and the bar mitzvah is the 13-year-old, right? The girls mature more quickly than the boys. And tashlim gadlus, meaning that a girl is an adult before a boy is. That the more that we see this with the animals. Animals grow up much quicker than people, right? They reach maturity much quicker. When we see children, they take a much longer time to mature because of that. That's why human beings mature more slowly than other animals, right? There are some animals that keep growing, but they reach maturity younger. But that takes longer to bring something, right? So anyway, so according to this, says the Maharal, that this shows that the male was created after the female. And again, if the Parshas here in Leviticus, the chapters here, go according to the order of creation, so there's another kasha. If this is the whole idea that it has to go by the order of creation, so the birds should have come before the mammals, because birds were created before mammals according to the book of Genesis. That the birds came about in the 5th day, and the mammals on the 6th day. Why should be real, like it is in creation, although that science might say different. That the mammals were already around, even proto-mammals in the Permian period, and the birds didn't develop till the Jurassic period, right, which was later. And the ancestors of the birds in the Triassic period, the theropods and the protheropods and protosauropods and things. The answer is just the animals and the birds are together in one paragraph. So then it makes sense to mention the mammals first. parsha dibur miuchad shamakdim lefi seder bria. If they were separate paragraphs, then you would go have the paragraphs be according to the order of creation. But since they're unified and combined, it's as if they're written all together. So then the thing that's more important comes first, which is mammals are more important than birds. So then we see the very deep, great things in the words of Rabbi Simlai that we're quoting in the Medrash. So it shows that according to him, whether it's in the creation or it's in the laws, whether it's in Genesis or Leviticus, the animals, domesticated animals, wild animals, and birds come before the human. Because the creation, the Torah and the creation both conduct themselves in these things in the way they're found. Human beings, especially when it comes to the types of things we're talking about here, are much more humble and hidden, and not just humble, modest. A human being, it's not like like a dog. He'll hide himself when he does something that is private. He has an idea of things being private. The animals don't have an idea of privacy. Some do, cats and things, but still, nonetheless, it's not really this idea of privacy in the animal world. So even though the human comes last, that teaches just how great human beings are. That we have these ideas of humility and modesty, which also, of course, we learn from the Kelmistater, right? The hidden God is the most modest, the most hidden, the most humble, really, is God. And also the greatest is God. But we don't have time to go longer on this, and we've already gone over 20 minutes. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. Have a good Shabbos. We'll see you later, God willing. All the best to you and yours. All right, how do I turn this thing off? How do I turn it off? Why isn't that working? Usually I press this, and this thing does the thing on the thing. Why isn't it doing the thing on the thing? Come on. This is working, so why isn't this one working? There we go. Now I press this.